This is an Evergreen Media Network studio production.
This is On the Move with McEvoy. And now, here's your host, Carolyn McEvoy.
Hello and welcome back to our show. Today, I am pleased to have with me Michelle Virgo. Michelle, welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Now, you make your home in Sebastian?
Yes.
And you've been living in the Treasure Coast with your family. You work a few jobs, I think.
Yeah.
You're originally from Miami.
I'm originally from Miami, a sub-city called Virginia Gardens in Miami Springs, Florida.
And when you were about 11 years old, you had sort of a life event happen.
Yes, unfortunately, I was sexually molested and raped by my TV production teacher from the ages of 11 to 14. So all my junior high.
Which is awful. Before that, you were a regular kid going to school, very creative, obviously, developing some interests in different areas. Can you tell us a little bit about how that happened?
I didn't know it at the time, but there was a pedophile ring going on in Miami Springs, and Coach Bach was one of the main people in that ring, and he victimized me and 17 other victims.
Which is awful.
Yes.
Unlike most, you chose to be brave, and you actually reported the incident.
I did end up reporting the incident. We prosecuted him, convicted him, and then I implemented 1-800-ABUSE hotline posters. And
those posters are still in effect today?
Yes, ma'am, they are.
Going back to the reporting, telling it, what made you tell? Was there a time?
I was having repressed memories and reoccurring nightmares that made me want to then tell it because it was really starting to affect me mentally.
It went on for several years. You were 11. It ended maybe when you were 13.
14.
Mm-hmm. And then it was after you were 14, you actually told your mom?
Yeah, it was when I went into 9th grade. So I started high school. I was out of the junior high, but he was still lingering. He was popping over at the house. He was surprise visiting. So that kind of reinforced, that he wasn't going away. And so that prompted me to tell my mom about what happened.
And it's a good thing that you actually did that, I guess, because for you, it gave you a voice in the matter. You weren't just a victim then. You were sort of taking control.
Yes. Yes,
so
we did.
After that, though, there was sort of a gray period. You had a period after that wasn't so good.
No, when you come out with your story, people feel different ways. Some people were, supportive. Other people just thought that I somehow made him do what he did.
Right.
So there's a lot of blame, and I felt guilty in some ways, and like that maybe I did cause it. Maybe I did do something. I started to question my actions and my behavior, and so with those ill thoughts, you do what most traumatic, trauma victims do is self-medicate to try to ease your pain. And so I had a decade-long self-medication period.
And then at the end of that, or near the end of that, in a government kind of program, talk about that, how you had that moment there.
So coming from Miami, I moved to Sebastian in 2006. My daughter that I had, Morgan, was 6 years old, getting ready to start kindergarten. And so I wanted a change for her. So we moved to Sebastian. But with me came my bad habits from Miami, and Sebastian, a small town, was not having any of those habits. And DCF quickly moved in on me the very first year I lived here, and continued to come back for 10 years until they finally said, "You're going to a residential rehabilitation program," and that's what I did. I went for a 3-month residential and a 3-month outpatient.
And that man, you ran into a gentleman there who became your guru in a way unintentionally.
Very unexpectedly, yes. A little bit of background. My mother kind of raised us to be very white. And so this counselor was a colored man. And so I was already on edge about that. And he just seemed to pick on me a lot. He called me out on many of my behaviors, things I'd talk about in session. And he would just make me I felt victimized almost because I was just being picked on so much by him. But I think it was more, when I look at it now is that he just saw that there was so much potential and so much growth waiting to happen. And so I think that's why he really honed in on me.
And
But
you
this-
had said, not to interrupt, you had said he pushed you from being a victim to an achiever with some words he gave you.
Yes. So this one day in session in front of everyone, he called me out again and he went up to this expo board and he drew a huge circle with the big word victim in the middle. And he drew lines radiating out of the circle with all types of words like, self-pity, loathing, guilt, all of these negative attachments to it. And he looked over at me and he said, when are you going to stop being this? And he pointed to the circle and he said, and be this. And he drew another circle with survivor in the middle. And the radiating lines out of that bubble was words of encouragement and positivity, resilience, strength, hero, things of that nature. And it was like this aha moment of, oh my God, like I could be something so different. And that's when I decided to change my life.
And it stuck.
It stuck.
The words, everything else didn't work, but his words, his care for you actually was the pivotal moment.
Absolutely. And very unexpectedly.
So you're out there today trying to give the same word and message and hope to people, and the statistics are high. Share those with everybody.
The statistics today is 1 in every 4 women and 1 in every 3 men are sexually molested and or abused or raped.
So there's a lot of people out there that are just walking and suffering silently.
Yeah,
You probably have some words of wisdom for those people.
I do. If you are in a circular cycle and feeling stuck, I encourage you to find someone. Find a stranger that you have a connection with or a person that you've known your entire life, just somebody you feel comfortable enough in sharing your story and your anguish. Sometimes all we need is to be heard. And if you don't have somebody or there is nobody and you're all alone, call me. Call me and I'll listen.
What's your number? Tell everybody.
My cell phone number is 772-453-6782.
One more time.
Direct line, 772-453-6782. And I will listen to your story and I will try to give you as much support and direction that I can give you just based on my own experiences.
Very good. So you took all of that past and you started a charitable organization. And so we're going to talk about that now. That is the Helping Hands community of the Treasure Coast.
Yes.
You are the CEO. You've been doing that for a while now. Can you tell everybody what made you do it and what kinds of things you do with that group?
Ultimately, it was the pandemic that launched me into producing Helping Hands community of the Treasure Coast. So we launched in April of 2020, right during the pandemic. We were the only organization out in the public, in the community, doing community service because at that time it was the 6-foot rule. And so we were able to do that outside, doing projects outside. So we were doing road cleanups, beach cleanups, beautification projects, landscaping things, anything that took us outside, within a distance to be somewhat together and not stuck in our homes. Because for some of us, like myself, being at home and being with yourself and in your own mind is not healthy.
It's not good for anybody.
It's not
We all
good
meet
for
people.
anyone. Exactly. And so it makes you go mad and stir crazy. And I just wanted a way for people to be able to still get together and not go crazy,
And you have children. You have from maybe high school age children to senior citizens. Is that correct?
Yes. My youngest volunteer is 5 and probably my oldest volunteer is in his late 60s, early 70s.
And you're doing something this weekend. What are you doing?
This weekend, we are running the Frog Lake Festival out in Fellsmere.
The beer tent?
Both beer booths. We are pouring beer for the festival with our team. So I have a day crew and a night crew coming out to operate the day for Saturday.
Service has its rewards. You and I have spoken about this. It's very important. It's changed your life. Speak a little bit about that.
There's nothing like giving back to your community. For me, it's that all natural high. It's nothing that compares to it. It just fills my soul up. Seeing the happy people, seeing the success of an event or fundraiser due in part because of my team. There's nothing that brings me more joy than that. And seeing people have a good time and have fun doing it, it's even better. And being an award-winning organization. In our first year, we won the Bob Graham Service Award.
It's amazing. That's amazing.
So,
and your partners, talk about, you work with many of the, the most well-heeled organizations in town, and Just tell them who
Yeah,
those are.
Mental Health Association is one of our partners. LaPorte Farms, Halo Rescue, Critter Haven in Vero, Habitat for Humanity in Martin County. I mean, the list can go on and on. We work with all kinds of nonprofits all over the Treasure Coast.
What's the requirement to come volunteer with you?
So the requirement to volunteer with me is just to reach out to me and say you'd like to give some of your time and be of service. And the way you do that is you can go to your app store on your phone and download what is called the Band app. It is spelled BAND, and it's a free app. It is where I do all of my communication with my volunteers and where I post our events, our upcoming events that we're volunteering at. It's where you can, press that you want to join and be part of it, and you become essentially a member of Helping Hands.
And you also, this for people that need certain service hours, for instance, a high school student or they get into trouble, you qualify for that.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes, I am a registered 501c3 nonprofit with an EIN number, so I am able to write off community service hours for dual enrollment programs, for college programs, or even probation on a case-by-case basis.
Which is really nice.
Yeah.
Because I think that diversity in your group probably enriches everybody with their life experiences.
It really does. It really does.
You have goals for the group. I think you need a new website and some other things. If people want to donate, how are they finding you?
So you can find us on Facebook. The Band app, as I mentioned, is our main form of communication. So definitely there on the Band app. But Facebook, we are on Instagram. We are on Alignable.
What's that word on Facebook? How are they?
It is Helping Hands Community TC.
Okay.
That's how you look us up.
All right.
And then it should come up with our page, and you should see our group photo. I change out the group photos periodically as, we do events, and when we take group pictures, I try to keep that updated. I post post notifications. So after we complete an event, I'll post up pictures of our fun that we had, the group that was out there, and give everybody props for being there. It's all about the volunteers. Without the volunteers, there would be no Helping Hands.
That's so true. In life, it's all people.
It's all about the people.
So, going back to what made you and, words of wisdom for people listening or watching that are in a cycle, that want to get out of the cycle, what would you say to them?
I would say to join a group like mine, because you'll find a lot of camaraderie there. A lot of people who have a lot in common with you and that you could actually relate to. And sometimes people need that. It's hard to make friends these days.
It is. And it gives you an excuse. When you're doing volunteering, I like it too.
Yeah.
Because you all have a job to do.
Everybody's got their social media, and we're very, social on media, but to meet people in person these days
is a huge deal.
It is, because everybody is looking at a phone and nobody's looking at each other and interacting with each other. I mean, I could literally go to a mall and walk around and nobody's looking at anybody, so there's no
the human element.
There's no human element anymore. It's like we walk around like robots with phones in our hands. It's sad to me because, people need those connections. And so our group essentially is trying to bring those people together and establish human relationships that aren't on your phone.
Well, you're setting a good example. You really are, because you're telling them that service is fun. I think that's what the fun element.
We have a good time. My volunteers, they say time and time again how much they love volunteering with us. When's the next one? They can't wait to get back in and do it again. As I said, I've got volunteers that have been with me from the beginning, that I call my diehards or my core group volunteers. And
you vet them.
Yes,
there's a vetting process.
Everybody is checked. That doesn't mean that, if there is something in your background that you can't be a member of Helping Hands. Like I said, I vet everybody on a case-by-case basis. I meet you, and I'm a pretty good judge of character. If I feel like there's just something about you that I feel like is going to click with the rest of our group, then I'm all about you being with us and being part of us. I'm always looking for new people, fresh faces, new hands. Because giving yourself can take a lot out of you. It can burn you out. So I'm always looking for that special person that I feel is going to be a good addition to our group, and growing our volunteer base.
So we haven't talked about it, but really the inspiration, your higher power, what do you attribute that to? Do you have a spiritual side?
So I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual. So I have my own personal relationship with the God of my choosing. And every morning I read a devotional for the day, and that kind of sets me on course for the rest of my afternoon. And at night before I go to bed, I say my prayers and ask God to give me an even better day the next day. That's
So far, it's worked.
Better.
I mean, it's nice, non-denominational. You get everybody together. It sort of equalizes things.
What's also nice about Helping Hands is that I'm the only volunteer organization that will take kids that are 12 and up without a parent. So most of the time, like for example, ELC, they have to be 15 to not have a parent.
And for everybody, ELC is the Environmental Learning Center.
Yes.
Correct?
That is what it is. Yes, I was there last night. And I was actually talking to their volunteer coordinator that's new there, and she was like, yeah, we don't take anybody that's, younger than 15 without a parent. And I said, yeah, I find that a lot with a lot of places that they have that rule in place that the parent has to accompany the younger child. What's great about our group is that if they're 12 and up and a parent signs a waiver, it says that they can be on their own without them with our group, then I will oblige that. Now, if they're younger than 12, I typically do like to have a parent with them, but I will make exceptions. If I've met with the family or I know the family, they know me, there's a rapport there, that depends. I'm comfortable, like the 5-year-old, I know his family. And if they couldn't be with him, I would gladly take the 5-year-old and have him come with me and my kids if we're going out for something. And, so I make arrangements for that. And I'm I'm probably the only organization that does that. And parents really appreciate that, because who wants to spend their free time with their child doing community service, sitting there and just like, I have to do that. I mean, I've been there, so I know what that feels like. So I try to give parents like this reprieve, of, hey, your kid can still get their community service hours done and you don't have to spend your day doing it, so they really appreciate that.
So you're good. You're a civic leader.
I'm a babysitter.
You're a babysitter. You're a mom yourself.
I am.
How many kids do you have?
I have 3 beautiful children, a 22-year-old daughter, a 14-year-old son, and an 11-year-old son.
And they're witnessing you giving back, and has it influenced and shaped their lives? I'm sure it has.
I think so. My 14-year-old joined the Junior Naval Academy program at the high school.
Nice.
And because
we have a great high school.
Yes,
wow.
Because he wants to give his service. His dad is a Marine, retired, and he wanted to follow in his dad's footsteps of being military. So he is in the program for the first year, and his staff sergeant even joked with me and said, that I'm not getting him back. And I was like, you're not taking him for another 3 years, he's got to graduate. But he had a boot camp, and he was gone for a whole week, and I didn't know what to do with myself without him.
Yeah.
But he's a great kid, and so is his younger brother, Lucas. So it's Morgan, Emerson, and Lucas.
Very nice.
And they're the joy of my life, so.
It's wonderful. So
thanks.
You've got to have some last words of wisdom for everybody here.
Oh, my last words of wisdom is I live by a motto: be the change you wish to see in the world.
I like that.
That started from back in my childhood, all the way through now. I just want to be that influence that I want to see what I want to see out in the world, but I have to be that first.
I mean, they use the word too frequently, but the word positive, you've taken everything and just put a positive light to it.
I try to do that as much as possible. There are dark days. I'm not going to lie and say that there's never a dark day. I mean, there are some days where I'm like, and you kind of get in your head. I quickly get out of that.
How do you get out of it? I mean, for anybody listening, how do you get out of it?
For me, for myself, the best thing that I can do to get out of my head is to get out of wherever I'm at. So if I'm at home, typically is where I'm at and in my head and stuck in whatever, I will change scenery. I'll go for a walk, go for a run, go to a park, go sit and look at the water.
Fresh air, nature.
Something that's just a different view, and just get some perspective, like, okay, if I keep on with this stinking thinking, where's it going to lead me? What's it going to do for me? How is this benefiting me? And the answer always is it's not, so, all right, we're going to turn this around. How do we make this different?
One thing I've noticed, and I have to say it, you did this alone. You may have had some support, but I think what you're sharing with everybody is somehow you healed yourself. which is kind of amazing.
I did have outside influence, but ultimately it is about you. You can't change unless you want to. People say, you know, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make him drink it. And that is the most truest statement of all time, because you can tell a person, hey, just do this, or I give you this advice, just follow this. It's really up to them on whether they want to make those changes. You can't force any change on anybody.
Well, like you were given the challenge, the gentleman that drew those 2 circles and told you where you were at and where you could be. Mm-hmm. I happen to think you're a challenge seeker. You took the harder road.
I did.
You did. You could have stayed in the victim circle.
I could have.
You said no to that.
It wasn't going to do me any justice, and it wasn't going to change other people's lives. And that's what I ultimately wanted to do. I wanted my life and my story to make a difference for others.
And I like the second part because it wasn't a perfect road. You had that hiccup or whatever in the middle, the abuse cycle. I mean, not abuse cycle, the substance abuse cycle. Yeah. And so you had the second hurdle.
Yes.
And I like that you shared that with us because it's not a perfect road. Don't expect perfection.
No, you can't. We're human, and by human, we err. That's in our nature. It's what you do with the error that makes the difference.
Right.
How you can turn that error around and make it something that's a lesson, so that I take these as lessons in life. And what am I going to do with this lesson? How do I make this lesson something for somebody else?
And today it's challenging out there. I think you and I can agree the world's different. Everything's different.
Everything.
I think what I'm taking out of this, there always is a positive side. We just have to look for it and work to get there.
There's always the silver lining in the cloud. There is. There really is. And if you look hard enough, you'll find it. And if you can't ever find it and you just feel like it's not something in your nature to do, I mean, that's why I encourage people to call me. Call me. I will show you the silver lining every time.
So, great segue. Tell us your phone number.
772-453-6782. I do believe it's on Facebook. When you look us up on our page, I have it listed there.
And this is Michelle Virgo. Michelle is with 1 L.
1 L.
She says you don't want to meet the one with 2 L's.
This is true. Everybody's got an alter. 2 L Michelle is not nice.
So true. I just can't thank you enough for being on our show. This has been fantastic. So thank you again. And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us on this program, which we're calling Survive and Thrive.
Thanks for having me.
Okay.